In this video, we'll talk about the 4 operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division with negative numbers involved. Let's start with addition. If we're adding 2 numbers, there are 2 cases. Either the 2 numbers have the same signs, or the 2 numbers have different signs. If the 2 numbers have the same sign and we're adding them, the result will be the same sign as the 2 numbers, and we will add the 2 absolute values. For example, an easy example, if it's 2 plus 3, it's a positive number plus another positive number. We keep the same sign, which is positive, and we add the absolute values, which is 2 plus 3, which is 5. Well, we already know that. That's not an issue. Well, what if it's negative 2 plus negative 3 here? Well, it's 2 number adding. They do have the same sign. They're both negative. So the result will be also negative, because we will keep the same sign. And we'll add the absolute values. Well, the absolute value of negative 2 is 2. The absolute value of negative 3 is 3. So add up 2 and 3, we have 5. So it's negative 5. One way to help you understand the situation is adding 2 negative numbers is kind of like adding 2 debts. You will get a bigger debt, right? So the result will still be negative, but it's just a bigger negative number. It's a number with bigger absolute value. Now, if you're adding 2 numbers with different signs, we will use the sign of the number with the bigger absolute value. And the value of the number will be the bigger number subtracting the smaller number. I'll give you one example. Say we have a negative 5 plus 3. Okay, so we're adding 2 numbers and they have different signs. Negative 5 and 3, they have different signs. And we will use the sign with the bigger absolute value. So between negative 5 and 3, the one with the bigger absolute value is negative 5. So we will use the negative sign as our result. And the number part will be 5 minus 3. The bigger absolute value minus the smaller absolute value. So that will be 2. So negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2. Okay, another example. Say I have negative 2 plus 8, for example. Okay, here are 2 numbers. They're adding. They have different signs. Since they have different signs, we'll use the sign of the bigger absolute value. So between negative 2 and 8, we will have to use the positive sign because 8 has a bigger absolute value. So we know the answer is positive and we subtract. 8 minus 2 is 6. Okay, one more example. Say I have 5 plus negative 6. Okay, we're adding 2 numbers. They have different signs. One is positive 5, the other one is negative 6. We will use the sign of the bigger absolute value, which is negative, because negative 6 has a bigger absolute value, and we'll subtract. 6 minus 5, 1. So the answer is negative 1 here. Okay, the last example. 4 plus negative 3, I want you to work on this by yourself. Okay. So the answer should be 1. Right? You're using the sign of 4 and you subtract 4 minus 3 is 1. Now let's look at subtraction. Well, we can always turn a subtraction into addition problem because subtracting a number is equivalent to adding the opposite of the number. For example, if I do 4 minus 7, it's subtraction here, I can always turn this into 4, the first number doesn't change, plus the opposite of 7, which is negative 7. So basically, you can do 4 minus 7. You can do this. Make 4 minus 7, 4 plus negative 7. Okay, so we just learned how to add two numbers with different signs, right? We will use the sign of the bigger absolute value, which is negative, and we subtract. 7 minus 4, negative 3. Okay, another example. If I do negative 3 minus negative 2. Okay, it is subtraction, right? Negative 3 minus negative 2. What we can do is turn the subtraction into addition. So we will turn the subtraction into addition and the number next to it into its opposite, which is plus. So the problem becomes negative 3 plus 2. Okay, we know how to do that. We'll use the sign of the negative, the bigger absolute value, which is negative, and subtract. Negative 1 here. Okay, one more example. So if I do negative 5 minus 7, it is subtraction. All right, we will turn the subtraction into addition and the next number into its opposite. So it becomes negative 5 plus negative 7. So since they have the same sign, we'll keep the same sign, which is negative, and add the two absolute values, which is 5 plus 7, 12. Negative 12 will be the answer. Okay, now I want you to pause the video and work on these 7 problems. And I will review the answers in 3, 2, 1 second. Okay, let's go. Number 1, negative 3 plus 4, the answer will be positive 1. Negative 2 plus negative 5, they have the same sign. So adding two numbers with the same sign, keep the sign and add the absolute values. Negative 7, here is negative 2. We will use this sign and subtract. Right. Okay, now subtraction. For subtraction, we will have to turn the subtraction into addition. So add positive. That will be positive 3. Right? So next one. Add negative. That will be negative 7. Similar here. Add positive. That will be negative 5. And negative 3 minus 8, you can see it as add negative. So we'll use the negative sign. We subtract. That's negative 5. I hope you got it all correct. Now we will move to multiplication and division of two numbers. We'll still look at the two cases. If the two numbers have the same sign and if the two numbers have different signs. If you're multiplying or dividing two numbers with and they're with the same sign, your answer is going to be positive. And if the two numbers are with different signs, the answer is going to be negative. For example, if it's negative 3 times negative 4, notice this is multiplication because we have parentheses here. Okay, so -3 times -4, they have the same sign. They're both negative. So the answer is going to be positive. We just multiply. 3 times 4, 12. Okay, another example. If we have 6 times -3. Well, these two numbers have different signs, and the answer is going to be negative. And we multiply. 3 times 6, 18. Similarly, if we have -2 times 5, they have different signs, so the answer is negative, and then multiply, -10. Another example would be division. Let's do a division. If we have -10, let's say, I'll write this way, divided by 5, well, they have different signs. The answer is going to be negative, -2. Right? So if I have -15 divided by -3, well, they have the same sign, so the answer is going to be positive. Then we divide. 15 divided by 3, 5. Okay, how about this? I have 0 divided by -2. Well, if 0 is on top, the answer is 0. We're asking how many -2's do we have in 0, which is 0. But what if the 0 is at the bottom? For example, if it's 5 divided by 0. Well, here we want to know how many zeros are there in 5. Well, 0 is such a small number, there's infinitely many zeros in 5. And here the number is undefined. And I hope this video is helpful, and I will see you in the next video.